You know that feeling when you wake up and instantly just start waiting? You're waiting for work to begin, waiting for that lunch break, waiting for the weekend, or maybe just waiting for the next big thing to finally happen. It is an incredibly relatable, yet honestly, a totally exhausting way to live. So today we're jumping right into a fascinating psychological breakdown of how to actually stop this exhausting cycle. We're going to explore how to completely align your external life with your true inner essence, all based on some seriously profound self-reflection and therapeutic insights. So it really begs the question, right? Why are we always waiting for something? Why do we constantly live in the future instead of the actual present moment? It's a trap so many of us fall into. We essentially end up just existing as placeholders until our next scheduled event. We leak all this precious energy right out of the present, and we end up completely missing the actual life that is happening right in front of our faces. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap today has 4 clear steps. First, the trap of constant waiting. Second, choosing thoughts like clothes. Third, the dissonance of internal and external. And fourth, choosing yourself in every breath. Step 1. The trap of constant waiting. Let's take a hard look at our deeply flawed relationship with time and the external world and figure out how to stop leaking that energy. Think about an average day. At 9 a.m., maybe you're sitting at your desk, doom scrolling a little bit, just waiting for work to actually kick off. By noon, you're literally counting down the minutes until your lunch break. And then at 3 p.m., you're probably tapping your foot just waiting to escape to the gym. The source material brilliantly describes this as leaking out of the present moment, because instead of actually living, we're constantly deferring our existence to the very next block on the calendar. We just sit there in the moment, waiting. We forget to breathe or look around or value what's right in front of us because we're way too busy fast-forwarding the clock in our heads. Well, the antidote to all this exhaustion is what the source calls fixation in the moment, basically true mindfulness. They define this as a state of existence where there is absolutely no past and no future, only active involvement and savoring of your current reality. Think about it. If your thoughts are constantly escaping to the past, you're robbing yourself of today. You aren't actively living it. You're just physically sitting there while your mind is stuck in yesterday. And if you escape to the future, well, the future is incredibly ephemeral. Chasing it is, for all intents and purposes, just chasing dreams. To really drive that point home, the source shares this powerful proverb: man proposes, but God disposes. I mean, we can color code our calendars and map out these elaborate 5-year plans all we want, right? But one sudden phone call, a flat tire, or some totally unexpected life event can literally change the whole shebang. Chasing the future pulls us right out of the one single thing we actually have any control over, which is right now. Obsessing over future plans that we ultimately can't control is honestly an exercise in sheer futility. Moving on to part 2, choosing thoughts like clothes. We're shifting gears here from our external perception of time to the internal curation of our minds. Now, what's really interesting about this next point is this incredible cinematic metaphor straight from the source material. Choose your thoughts like clothes in a closet. Just think about that for a second. You don't put on every single piece of clothing you own all at once, right? And you certainly don't force yourself into some scratchy neon green sweater from a decade ago that doesn't even fit anymore. Yet, we do exactly this with our thoughts all the time. As we get older, it's so easy to just accumulate all this negativity and judgment, but you really need to be an active observer of your thoughts. You got to carefully select them rather than just being totally consumed by whatever random thing pops into your head. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is to focus only on what forms your life. The source reminds us that, hey, you are no different from anyone else. Spending your precious emotional energy judging strangers on the internet or desperately trying to win some comment section argument about what's objectively right or wrong, that is a massive drain on your personal peace. Sure, you're an intelligent person, you can have opinions, but getting emotionally tangled up in other people's business, it's simply not your concern. Protect your energy. Figure out the close circle of people who actually matter to you and focus solely on the actions that shape your own existence. Which brings us to section 3, dissonance of internal and external. This is the real climax of our explainer, where we identify the deep psychological mismatch causing so much of our daily anxiety. Okay, so picture your inner essence. The source actually gives this deeply personal example of recognizing her true factory settings as graceful, feminine, kind, and just full of love for every little flower and leaf. She genuinely wants the universe to perceive her this way. But then she looks at the physical reality she often catches herself in, slouched over, completely rushed, overcome by apathy, maybe throwing on stretched out sweatpants just out of pure laziness. Do you see the gap here? This striking, literal mismatch between our idealized inner self and our careless physical reality is exactly where a massive amount of our psychological distress stems from. And here is how that dissonance actually rears its ugly head in your everyday life. When your physical actions contradict your inner truth, unpleasant psychological states start breeding. First off, you might feel this sudden, unprovoked anger at total strangers. Then come the intrusive negative thoughts. The source vividly describes these as annoying, buzzing flies that just swarm your mind and will not leave you alone. And eventually, this compounds into heavier depressive states and general anxiety. It kind of feels like these negative emotions come out of nowhere, but actually they are alarms sounding off because your everyday actions are betraying who you really are. Finally, Section 4, choosing yourself in every breath. Let's look at the empowering resolution of how to take tangible action, realign your physical movements, and finally swat away those buzzing flies. So this therapeutic process breaks down into 3 super manageable micro actions. Step 1, acknowledge your true factory-setting essence. Like, who are you at your absolute core? Step 2, notice the physical dissonance in your current state. Are your current actions, your posture, or even your clothes betraying that core? And step 3, make a choice. Make a conscious choice with your very next breath or your posture to realign. Because every single movement is a choice. It's a building block that is either reinforcing your integrity or breaking it down piece by piece. I absolutely love this specific example from the source material. Even how you sit on a chair is a choice. You might be sitting there right now, unconsciously, hunched over, curled up like a hook. But if your inner essence is someone who carries themselves with relaxed grace, you are actively creating a micro-dissonance. Choosing to adjust your spine, sitting in a way that honors your essence, not with rigid tension, but with a natural, cultivated alignment, that is you choosing yourself. It is a tiny physical shift, but it reinforces your psychological wholeness and puts you in complete contact with yourself. So I'm going to leave you with this. Will your next breath reflect your true essence? Or is it going to be just another compromise? I really want you to think about that as you go about your day today. When you align your microactions, your posture, your breathing, your choice of thoughts with your true self, you completely eliminate that painful internal friction. You build a profound, unshakable integrity. So step out of the waiting room of life. Start observing your thoughts and start choosing yourself. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I really hope this helps you align with your truest self.